this. Let's bring in Angie Wong, journalist and chairman of Legacy PAC. She's here in studio with me. And Dion Cini is the founder and CEO of TrumpSwag.com, and he joins us from Manhattan. Great to see you both. Dion, tell us what you're seeing today on the ground there in Manhattan.
All right, I got to tell you, good news, no riots. The police have been on the best behavior. Actually, they've been very courteous. The mood here sort of seems like they're going to think it's going to be tossed out. So, we're just happy to be out here again. But we do this all the time. We do this at least once or twice a week anyway. This time it's just for one more reason, for Donald Trump.
Absolutely. All right. Turning to you for a moment, Angie, so many levels of this possible Trump indictment. What are you thinking? What is your first take on this whole story? Was your first thought this secures the primary for him? Was your first thought this might secure the general for him? Was your first thought they might be pulling another stunt to get him in trouble in other ways that we're not seeing? What was your first thought?
Yeah, my first thought was that the Manhattan DA is actually helping Trump win the election in 2024. I mean, every sign pulls toward that. Look, what they said on The View today, clearly, this is out to get Trump. The only message that the DNC has right now is to get Trump, and they are being very successful at making sure that their base is only focused on getting people to hate him.
And you know, what you say is interesting to me, Angie, because we know that the Democrats played in a lot of Republican primaries to try to get people in that they thought were MAGA candidates and they thought were beatable. Could they be so Trump deranged,
yes,
that they really think that helping him this way, I mean, could it be that back channel that they really think helping him in this way by building on that sympathy factor that this billionaire keeps benefiting from? Could they really think that might lose an election for the GOP?
Look, they have fantasies of Trump doing a perp walk and being cuffed. I even seen watercolor paintings of Trump in handcuffs. They are so delusional. What they don't realize is that this is energizing Trump's base and all Republicans, and I would even say Americans, because now, as of tomorrow, we're going to be asked to pick a side. And I don't believe that the side they're going to choose is going to be with the deranged socialist Democrats, because this is all one big fantasy for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Will it propel Trump to win the primary and the general? Will there be a backlash? This is really interesting. Dion, do we still have Dion? Can we go back to Dion? Yes. Okay, great. Dion, tell us, are there potential plans, anyone you've seen that looks a little bit suspicious? We're all kind of looking for the way they might use this to try to make the movement look bad. What are you seeing there on the ground? Anything suspicious at all?
No, absolutely nothing. Like I said, as far as the Trump supporter goes, it's a win-win situation. So if they indict Trump, it's just going to bolster us. If they don't indict Trump, once again, Trump just gets another case thrown out. So, I just think that the media just blew this up again for no reason whatsoever. And it's going to come back to bite the DA right in the butt as soon as, either Trump is not indicted or it's tossed out.
And what's the most surprising part to you about how this has gone down so far, Dion?
Well, the most surprising part is what they've done to put Trump supporters in submission. We've been through this a couple times now, since January 6th even. But today they really wanted to put the message out there and just don't cause trouble. But at the end of the day, like I said, this is just going to bolster us. And I'm going to call today and tomorrow the Trump bump. Because I think Trump's going to get an extra 10 points either way, no matter what happens. But again, most people here think it's going to get tossed out tomorrow.
Yeah. And turning back to you, Angie. Yeah, go ahead. You want to comment on that?
I love it. The Trump bump.
I like it.
We need all these phrases because, quite honestly, this has done nothing but basically put Trump back in the airwaves 24/7.
Yeah.
And that's how he won 2016.
Yeah.
Right? Good, bad, whatever.
Yeah.
He was always on the air, and he owned both Democrat and Republican talking points. So it was great.
Going for the cynical view again, if this was all orchestrated to somehow hand the primary to Trump, if they were really worried about DeSantis, I never was, but maybe they were. This also puts Donald Trump back in the clickbait world, right?
Yes.
Of making media a lot of money that they've lost since Donald Trump wasn't there. Who in the heck wants to watch a yawner Joe Biden on television, right? But all of a sudden now, everything's lighting up and they're getting the clicks, and it must feel good, and it makes the money. Angie, what are your thoughts there?
Look, I mean, Trump needs a little help, especially in the donation world, right? And he's been trailing a little bit because it's not the same as it was, in his last run. So I think this is going to give him the big bump. I also think this clears the field of anyone joining in because, again, he owns the airwaves. There's no legalities to this. I mean, every legal expert that I've spoken to that has been speaking to the press, they don't believe that this is going to go anywhere. So all you're doing is giving him a clear lane to speak.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dion, this DA, right, he promised to get Trump when he was campaigning, and Soros funded his campaign. But this DA who says no one is above the law also lets criminals out of jail without posting bail. Many hold him in that area responsible for a lot of the crime. He refuses to prosecute some crimes committed against New Yorkers. But is Manhattan really that rabidly leftist that most voters like this guy?
No, I don't think anybody likes this guy. He was planted. He was a Democrat plant. And now he is paid by Soros and by his donors to do what he has to do for one reason and one reason only, the mugshot. They want that mugshot, and they want to use that mugshot as a campaign statement for the next 6 months, or I'm sorry, for the rest of the news cycle, or sorry, for the campaign cycle. So that's all I really think it is. But no, I don't think even the Democrats are a little bit upset with what's going on here too, because they were in the crime is here. It's real. They have to put up with it everywhere they go, especially even when you go to CVS. You got to ask permission just to get a tube of toothpaste. So they know the difference about real crime and this political crime that the DA is putting on right now.
Yeah. Well, the View panelists had more to say on this. Everyone take a look.
And people go on this, kind of echo this message and say, you shouldn't arrest him because it's going to embolden his supporters. It's all a political prosecution. No, what would be political is to not prosecute somebody who's committed a crime and who has been indicted just because he's a former president.
Yeah.
That's not what we do in this country. That's what happens in places like Cuba, like Nicaragua, like North Korea. But in the United States, the thing that sets us apart is that nobody is above the law. So if you broke the crime, you pay the time.
Don't you feel, though, like it's a little bit of a veiled threat that Trump's representatives keep coming out and saying they'll protest? It's, to me, in the past...
They didn't like it when BLM protested.
But it's been like a call to arms. I think it's not only kind of a call to arms outside, but it's like a warning to...
It's like an intimidation tactic.
There might be a January 6th part 2 if you push through with...
Unbelievable. Angie, as you think about this, they say no one's above the law, but also no one's supposed to be below the law, right? Shouldn't matter if you're a former president. Shouldn't matter. None of those that you're a billionaire. Shouldn't matter that the whole news media and all of the political establishment are jealous, wildly jealous of you. You shouldn't be able to be prosecuted for that. But making statements like, since we didn't like the BLM riots, we shouldn't protest. We now no longer have the right to peacefully assemble, as is guaranteed to us. And, to say that Donald Trump is threatening J6 Part 2 when all Donald Trump did to incite J6 was tell people to go peacefully. The left always wants to leave that out. Angie, your comments.
Yeah, well, they certainly forgot about Bill Clinton, and they forgot about John Edwards, who were in similar predicaments, and they basically were hoping that Donald Trump would go away quietly the same way John Edwards' scandals went away in 2008. I think that Kevin McCarthy came out today and said, you know what? Don't protest. It's a setup. And he basically asked people to, send letters, call the DA's office, do other things, but do not protest. Because we saw yesterday right outside Mar-a-Lago, there was a little protest happening, and it was dispersed really quickly because drones flew up above the protesters, just waving flags peacefully, but they were afraid that drones were collecting their information. And, there could very well be the same thing happening in New York right now, outside Trump Tower and outside the lower courts.
Angie, where do we live that this is the reality? I find it mind-boggling. Anyway, thank you both so much for being here. Angie Wong, journalist and chairman of Legacy PAC, and Dion Cini, he's the founder and CEO of TrumpSwag.com. Great to see you both. Coming up, the entire world falling apart under Biden, and we are watching what is happening in Manhattan today. There's a very scary meeting in Moscow. We'll tell you.